for the bandwidth. Thank you so much. Okay, there we go. Nelson, I see that you have appeared. I will admit, I just see you popping into my screen, which is always good.
Yes, I'm excited that I managed. My connection is very poor, so but I managed.
We'll take it slow then. We'll take it slow. So without any further ado, I'll continue to let participants in as we go along. You will see that we've started a recording. It is for those that cannot join us today. We will make this recording available also for you as a resource, and we will make that available on the YouTube channel of Nuffic NesoZA South Africa. My name is Huba Boshof. I am the head of Nuffic NesoZA South Africa, based here in Pretoria, and I'm joined this morning by Nelson Komane from the National Research Foundation. And this morning, afternoon, next hour, our aim is to share as much information as possible with you about the NRF Nuffic Doctoral program, so that we will receive a huge number of applications to select our ambassadors for this year. So there's another, our numbers are growing, so as people come in, I will just let them in. So this morning, as I've said, we will look really about, just give you 5 seconds on what the scholarship is about, and then Nelson will dive into really the eligibility criteria. How do you apply for this opportunity? As I mentioned before Nelson joined, our aim is also really to hear from you. What questions do you have? What is unclear? And how can we support you in this process, both from the side of Nuffic and from the side of the NRF? So Nelson, would you like to start with the NRF side?
Okay, Huba. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Good to have you joining our meeting. So the NRF is a national institution under the government's mandate. So it's a mandate. Is to contribute to the national development by supporting, promoting, and advancing research and human capacity development. Secondly, to develop, support, maintain its various national research facilities. Those that are familiar with the NRF's national facilities, you will remember that we have SASTA, the advancement facility, and then we have SAO, we have SAEP, we have SION, we have SARAO, the radio astronomy facility, and thirdly, to support and promote public awareness and engagement with respect to the science. That is largely done by the SASTA, the South African Agency for Science and Technology Advancement. And then to also promote the development and maintain the national science system, as well as support the government priorities. Hubert.
Thank you very much, Nelson. So let me give you a little bit of insight about what our office does here in South Africa. This office was established in 2015, so we're about 6 years now, and it was established based on the demand from the Dutch education sector, where South Africa and the Netherlands have been working together in the education and research sector for many years. Some partnerships go back as far as 25 years already. We are funded by the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we remain the only office on the African continent. We do have colleagues that also sit in Ethiopia and in Benin, and they work on our capacity development programs. So really also being close to where activities are happening. We work in four dominant areas. The one is on student mobility. That includes the Study in Holland portfolio. My colleague Tumisho Mashego is also on this call. And if you have questions on other study opportunities in the Netherlands, maybe you have colleagues or friends that are interested, please don't hesitate to put any questions in the chat and we will respond to that. We also support Dutch students that want to study in South Africa. So many of you would know at our universities, we have a big portfolio of international students and we provide support to the Dutch students. Then we support the Netherlands Alumni Network. And for those that will be studying in the Netherlands, you will join that network of professionals, now ranging from colleagues in the ministries to university academics to those in the private sector. We're also responsible for positioning the Dutch knowledge sector, so creating those long-term partnerships. And lastly, as I've already mentioned, we are responsible for capacity development, and we implement the Orange Knowledge Program in Southern Africa. So that's really in a nutshell our office, but what's more important today, and the reason why many of you joined us today, is to learn more about the Netherlands and why enrolling for a PhD in the Netherlands is a good idea. Now, the Netherlands is an extremely small country in Europe. It is only about 17 million inhabitants, but it is also a country that is very well known for science, for innovation, for agriculture, for water, and these are some of the areas that we have also been working in. So there you'll see our king and queen, also quite involved in education, both of them. And so if you think about what comes to mind when you think of the Netherlands, you might think of soccer. Maybe I should put the Ajax team there. You think most certainly of the windmills and the canals, tulips, definitely. And then also the cheese. Some of our students that come back, they remember the cheese and the bread. But the Netherlands is also, as I've mentioned, known for their excellent universities. There are 13 research-intensive universities in the Netherlands, if I can compare it to our system, and then about 54 universities of applied sciences or other higher education institutions that we work with. You will recently seen that some of these universities are highly ranked on the world ranking. Some of those universities are also the ones that participate in the NRF Norfolk Doctoral Scholarship Program. And with that, Nelson, I am handing over to you to give us a little bit of background on how to go about applying and the requirements for this program specifically. You can also share from your side if it is more convenient for you, then I'll stop this presentation. Nelson?
All right.
There we go.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. Okay, thank you very much for handing over. So in terms of the NRF operation, and in line with what we call the Global Knowledge Partnerships framework, next year and going forward, we will be placing only students only under the split side modality. That is full-time doctoral studies that are undertaken jointly and developed and implemented by a Dutch higher education institution and a partner university in South Africa. Partner university in South Africa, we are talking about your recognized public universities and not necessarily your private universities. And then the result will be a joint degree from the two institutions. Um, so this will be governed, this relationship between the two institutions will be governed by a memorandum of understanding that will be jointly implemented, developed and implemented by these two institutions. Huba, I don't think I have you have shared the rights for me to be able to navigate, but you can navigate for me as I conclude every slide. Okay. So the areas that will be supported, I think we will be supporting all areas of science, engineering, technology, social sciences, and humanities. You will note in the framework document that we are more specific to say that 80% of the disciplines that will be supported by the NRF and Nuffic will be under science, engineering, and technology, and 20% will be social sciences and humanities. Thank you, Huba. All right, thank you. So the eligibility of the applicants should be South African citizens or permanent residents, be the age of 32 or younger in the year of application. And then they should be intending to pursue full-time doctoral studies in 2022 academic year at the South African Public University, and of course in collaboration with a Dutch university or Dutch higher education institution. It must be a resident in South Africa at the time of approval of the funding, meaning you should be a South African citizen or a permanent resident who is in South Africa at the time when your award is approved, should you be successful, and should meet the academic requirement for doctoral studies, which is a minimum of 65% at master's level. And for those that are still busy with their master's degree, the NRF will take into consideration their final honors results as a way of determining whether they are eligible. But then once they complete their master's degree, then the NRF will then open a window for the submission of their master's degree. And then based on that, we will know how we're going to fund them. You will learn as we advance with our slides that there are two modalities of funding, which is full cost and partial cost. Thank you. Huba? Okay. So who will not be eligible for a doctoral funding by the NRF and Nuffic? It's students who are currently registered for doctoral studies in the Netherlands, and those who are already in their third year of doctoral study in the current year at the South African institution. And individuals who have previously received NRF funding for doctoral studies. Those who hold South African or Netherlands government funding for a doctoral degree, and individuals that already hold or are in possession of a doctoral degree. students who will be in their pre-proposal year in 2022, and those who will be in a salaried employment, whether it be contractual or permanent, that exceeds the 12 hours per week while pursuing their studies. The 12 hours per week, essentially we refer to um, non-official activities that one will be engaged in at institutional level. I mean, we're talking about maybe demonstrations. We're talking about volunteering for teaching activities or to assist with activities such as the new enrollments at the university, those that are non-official and do not necessarily carry monetary incentive. And also individuals that are on sabbatical leave from their current employment will not be eligible. Okay, so in terms of the timelines for the applications for funding in 2022 academic year, I'm not going to go through each and every activity. I'm just going to touch base much on those that are of utmost importance. So we all know that the call opened on the 1st of April. And students normally would ask when the cut-off date for submission of their applications will be. That date is determined by the universities where the students will be enrolled. Those universities determine the internal cut-off date for submission of applications. And then the validation of eligibility of students. The date for that is also set by the universities, as well as the institutional review of applications. When that will be concluded, that is also set by universities. But essentially, all the universities, once they have reviewed eligible applications and have set aside those applications that sort of meet requirements and eligibility requirements, should send those applications to the NRF by the 20th of August, after which then there will be an ISFAP, household means assessment, for the applications that need to be assessed for a financial means assessment. So ISFAP is one of the organizations that the NRF has collaborated with and is a funding partner. It's the ICUSASA Student Financial Aid Program, and it will be on top of things in terms of establishing the means assessment of the eligible students. And then we hope that by mid-December, we should be done with the funding decisions, and by the 15th of December, we should be issuing out the letters of awards to successful applicants. And then the other dates relate to appeals, like around April, we will be working on the appeals that might be available. Thank you, Huba. Okay, and how will the NRF identify financially needy students prior to making the funding decisions. So when the student work on their applications, there will be two scenarios that they would most likely fall under. It's either they would be financially needy or that they will not be financially needy. So when you look to your right, number one, the first scenario, if the student indicates that they are not financially needy, but provides proof of disability, they will not be subjected to an ISFEP financial means assessment, because students that are living with a disability automatically qualify or are eligible for full cost of study. The high academic achievers, if a student attaches academic record that shows that they have achieved or scored 75 and higher for their final master's um, degree, then they will also be eligible for full cost of study. Then when we go to number 2 to your left, a student can indicate that they are financially needy, in which case they will need to choose an income band. Largely, if they indicate that they are financially needy, they will then choose an income band of 350,000 or less. So because there are two income bands, it's either you are above 350,000, in which case you are not financially needy, or if you are financially needy, then you will be choosing the income band at your left hand side, that is less than or equal to 350,000 per annum. Next slide, Huba. All right, so under number 3, if the student indicates that they are not financially needy but do not attach proof of disability or the academic record with a mark of 75% and higher, then they will automatically be eligible for partial cost of study. And under number 4 to your left, if they choose an income band of 350,000 per annum, but they indicate that they have been previously funded by the National Student Financial Aid or by the ISFAP, then they attach proof of such support, then they will not be subjected to an ISFAP financial means assessment, but they will, based on the attachment and proof that they have previously been funded by NSFAS or ISFAP, it will be proof enough that they are financially needy, under which then they will be eligible for full cost of study. So if they do not attach, if they indicate that they are financially needy but do not attach proof of NSFAS or ISFAP, then automatically the form will prompt or will come up in their application form. That form that will prompt will be an ISFAP consent form that requires the student to sort of provide consent that they are willing to undergo the financial means test or means assessment by ISFEP. If they say no, they do not consent to the financial means assessment, you see the diagonal arrow, then they will have to choose an income band of 350,000, under which case then they will be eligible for partial cost of study. And then if they consent through that ISFEP consent form that they are willing to undergo the financial means assessment, then they will need to submit that form using the relevant channel or attach the form in the relevant section. And then the NRF, with working together with ISFEP, will use the information that is provided in the form to determine whether the student is indeed financially needy. That is, they are having a combined household income of 350,000 or less. Then if that's the case, if it's confirmed, they will be eligible for full cost of study. But if the ISFEP outcome indicates that the combined household income is above 350,000, then they will be eligible for partial cost of study. So the NRF and the ISFEP will work with the banks. They will work with the Home Affairs, and they will work with Deloitte through the whole process of financial means assessment. The student doesn't need to do anything there. They just need to send a complete and stamped consent form. Thank you. Next slide, Huba. Okay, indicative funding values. So here are the allowances that are applicable to the students that are funded under the NRF. So students will be funded either under a full cost of study or partial cost of study based on their financial means or their combined household income. So the categories that will be covered under full cost of study, it's living and transport allowance, food and transport allowance, maximum accommodation, tuition, and there will also be provision for assistive technology device and electronic study device. So the assistive device will only be applicable to students living with a disability. So on the notes just under the table, or well before the notes, to your right, partial cost of study, only two aspects of items are covered. It's the accommodation and tuition fees. So you have your totals there under each respective study, full cost of study or partial cost of study. So the notes, the allowances per category will be reviewed on an annual basis, subject to the agreed CPI, Consumer Price Index, linked sector-wide increases and alignment with the guidelines for the Department of Higher Education and Training Bursary Scheme for students at public universities. So accommodation fee will be paid as per the invoice, but will be paid up to the capped amount as determined in the table. So it will be limited to the maximum cost of equivalent university-owned accommodation at a particular institution. So students that are accommodated in private rental accommodation are also expected to provide proof of lease agreement with their lessor. So tuition fee will also be paid in accordance to the invoice and will be paid up to the maximum of the capped amount as indicated in the table. So tuition fee, we can define it as the agreed institutional fee for the actual program of study. And registration fee is normally included in the tuition fee. The NRF students with a provisional award letter are not normally required to pay the registration fee upfront. Okay, and then the electronic study device will relate largely to aspects of your the purchase of maybe a laptop, maybe upgrading your system, or maybe purchasing something like a monitor, but it does not apply to something like your smartphone or anything like that. It's limited to laptops, computer, and the likes. All right. There is someone on the background that is not mute. Can we please mute? I think we can hear what you are busy with. Huba, have you stopped sharing? Okay. I think
I think somebody else just started. I can do that again, not a problem.
okay.
There we go, Nelson. Is that better?
All right. Yes, you
There
can
we
just
go.
advance to yes. Thank you very much. I think I'm done with this slide. We can then advance to the next slide. Okay. Scholarship details. As indicated, students are funded at full cost or partial cost based on their financial need as determined by the ISFEP means assessment. But there is also an element of international visits under the split side mode. And then the funding is allocated up to the maximum of 21,600 euros. And I think just in the table below, there is sort of, you know, separation of years and how much roughly or on average during each given year can the student be allocated. But we do not normally limit the students to utilize 5,400 euros per year. You can sort of use this in your third and fourth year, or you can use it as determined by your supervisors, your local and Dutch supervisors, for as long as your travel will not exceed the capped amount of 21,600. So the travel grant or the mobility grant values will be informed by the Dutch Immigration and Naturalization Service, and may be adjusted as per need on an annual basis. Thank you. Okay, so the reviewing of applications by universities, local universities or higher education institutions. So reviews will be undertaken using the standardized scorecard that is provided by the NRF. I think we will see how the scorecard looks like, but it's also there in your application, in your called documents. So only applications that are recommended for funding based on merit review may be submitted to the NRF by the designated authority at the university. And applications that are not recommended for funding based on merit review will be rejected on the NRF online system, and a comment will be made by the designated authority. And then the DA must submit the confirmation of review process, meaning the scorecard for each and every application that has been reviewed, and the panel composition, as well as the outcomes, and those will be signed by the deans of faculties or by the DVC of research. Thank you. Next slide, Huba. And this is how the review process will sort of unfold. So once the applications are submitted to the institutions, there will be a validation process or a screening process. And then the DA will identify with the relevant parties a suitable review panel, and then there will be a uploading of updated peer-reviewed documents, like terms of references, scorecards, and everything. And then there will be a selection of applications by the reviewers or subject experts. And then once that is concluded, there will be a scorecard sent to the NRF based on the evaluation of the proposals or applications by the reviewers and the moderators. And then there will be quality review, quality checks, and consolidation of review recommendations, after which and the applications will be submitted to the NRF, and then there will be a final sort of screening by the NRF grants management section, and then there will be a funding decision process by the domains. All right, thank you. Next slide. Okay, so this is sort of how the scorecard looks like. The criteria that will sort of be used will largely be the academic merit, which carries a lot of weight, and then the completion of the previous degree, the track record, or the research outputs by the student, the priority research area originality of doctoral study, and the potential impact of the research. But you can check it at length in your call documents. The framework document, I think, is the one that sort of has this document. All right, the next slide. Okay, awarding principles. Next one. So postgraduate scholarships will be awarded based on the following principles, or based on the following criteria. A recommendation by the peer review panel or the institutions, the APP targets, the annual performance plan targets, the institutional rate of scholarship awards uptake, enrollment at each university, the institutional spread, knowledge domains as specified by the NRF, and financial needy as determined by ISFEP, facilitated household means assessment, and whether the students were previously NRF, NSFAS, or ISFEP funded. And basically of importance, the criteria that will determine the awarding of applications will be the availability of budget. But I think this does not play much of a significant role in this program as we have targeted numbers. All right, thank you. Next slide. And in conclusion, there are a few points that I would like our applicants to take note of. Please check with the institutional postgraduate office or bursary office on the internal closing dates for applications and adhere to those cut-off dates. And ensure that you identify a Dutch supervisor on time to avoid last-minute rush, and to ensure that the MOU is in place between the local and Dutch higher education institutions. Just a side note, in the framework document, we have affixed an annexure with participating Dutch institutions. But I think, Huba, we can indicate that we don't basically limit students to that, or that annexure is not as comprehensive really, but as much as possible, try and identify a supervisor from that annexure.
That is correct, Nelson. So to add to that, if you look at the annex and you're not sure if there's a fit or is this not a fit, or is there maybe somebody else that's closer to what I'm doing, please feel free to reach out to us. At the end of this presentation, you will see our email address, and we will work with you to move that process along. As Nelson said, the very first thing, however, is to speak to the South African University to be sure that you know the deadlines, the internal deadlines for that process.
All right, thanks a lot, Huba. And make your referees aware that they have been nominated as your referees, so that they can expect to, motivate on your behalf. So it is the student's responsibility to ensure that the referees respond accordingly. Of critical importance, include your Dutch and local PhD supervisors as your referees. This is very important. Please ensure that all the attachments as indicated in the application and funding guidelines document are attached in the relevant section of your application. Usually, what would work against our applicants is when you find that they have completed the application form, but they are missing documents in the attachment section. You find that their applications are rejected based on missing documentation. So be sure to know what is needed in terms of attachments, and attach what is necessary or what is needed. For documents like ID copies, please just ensure that you certify those. Please ensure that you include your parents or guardians or anyone that might be a contributor to your household income in the ISVAP consent form for financial means assessment. Let me indicate based on this point that students or applicants that do not include anyone in terms of the contributors to the household income, that they are their consent forms will not undergo the financial means assessment, because there will not be information to work on, but then they will, I think, be eligible directly or automatically for partial cost of study. So to ensure that your form undergoes the financial means assessment, ensure that you include all your household contributors, and also get the form stamped by the Commissioner of Oaths before you submit it. If the Commissioner of Oaths stamp is not there, then the form will not be taken for financial means assessment. Thank you. I think that's the end of my presentation, our presentation.
Thank you, Nelson. Colleagues, you will see there are some email addresses that you can use. So, Nelson, there are a number of questions. I have responded to some of them, but I think I've coupled a few together, and I also see more in the chat. So let me start, and then you can answer some of them. We had a question that the age requirement disqualifies quite a number of our participants today for this program. Are there other opportunities for applying for funding that does not have a cutoff of 32 years? Maybe you can also respond from other aspects of the NRF.
Thank you, Huba. Unfortunately, all the NRF postgraduate scholarship programs, have that age limitation. But we work closely with institutions like Department of Higher Education and Training, who have a number of opportunities, much more than the NRF actually provides for. So you can check with the Department of Higher Education and Training for other opportunities for abroad studies. Thank you.
Thanks, Nelson. I have a question on education. I can assist you with looking at institutions that have a faculty of education and look more specifically at what you are interested. So please send an email directly to me and I can assist you with that. I'll pop my office email address in the chat as well, and I can work with you on that process of finding and seeing if we can find somebody that's interested in education. All right, the other question, quite important, Nelson, was if you are a South African citizen, but you are residing in the Netherlands, does that disqualify you?
I think we indicated that at the time of the awarding of the scholarship, you should be residing in South Africa. So that will definitely disqualify you because first and foremost, you should be studying at a South African university on a full-time basis. So that will definitely disqualify you.
Okay, so we've covered that. Then we had a question. We have lots of questions, colleagues. We have a few more minutes, so we're going to try and rush through these as much as we can. And then, of course, if there's anything that's not answered or that you still have a question about, maybe something comes to you this afternoon, please feel free to contact us directly. And between Nelson and myself, we will deal with these questions. The question is, can partial costs be awarded to candidates above the 350K threshold? I think that's quite one that we get quite often.
I think if I understand the question well, can partial cost be awarded to students with a household income of over 350,000? That's the question, Hubane.
That's the question.
Yes. In actual fact, those whose combined household income is over 350,000, they will be eligible for partial cost of study.
Super. Then I see quite a few questions regarding how to reach out to a supervisor. How do you know the specialization, etc.? Do you have to have a project already? So let me cluster those together. The best way to reach out to the Dutch institutions is to send an email to those that have listed already their interest in this program in the annexure that Nelson referred to. We will share with all of you that attended today the funding framework that includes this annexure right at the end. And here you will see which field of study the supervisor is in, and then you can easily look them up on the university website to see, is this a good match for me? The best way to engage with the Dutch supervisors is to already include your South African supervisor in CC so that there's already a connection. And you might not have a full project already, but I am sure that you already have an idea of the area of study that you would work and the field of expertise that you would want to work in. So share those ideas. If you have a bigger idea on what you would like to work on, also include that so that the supervisor can see kind of where to match you with their own skills and their own expertise. If you have an interest, you will also see in this list that sometimes it is not listed as a professor. In this list, there are also some of the research coordinators indicated that said, well, if you have a student that have an interest, please link with us. And so you can also reach out to those research coordinators. You are always welcome to put me in CC so that the students can see and that the supervisors can see where you are coming from. Then we have a question on, let me read it. Sibyl just posted, I have received my results for my master's. However, there are still some glitches that needs to be fixed. May I send an email to the university stating that the degree will be awarded with distinction after working on these corrections, or should I communicate with the university? I think it's always important to give people as much information and context as possible. So I think it would be good, Sibo, if you include the email from the university that's then an official communication to say that this is the process that we are following to update my results that you might see now. We also had a question from Moses. I did not qualify for funding using my results and I'm still enrolled for masters until the end of the year. Will this disqualify me automatically? Nelson, maybe this is something that you can comment on. The two of us have, of course, discussed this a number of times already.
Okay, thank you, Huba. So just to add to what Huba responded to Sibo, yes, it's very important to include as much information as possible, Sibo. In addition to that letter from the university, you can also attach your final year honors results, so that if the letter perhaps maybe might not suffice, then that your final honors results then are taken into account in the meantime when you are provisionally awarded, and based on your master's outcomes, then you will then be adjusted accordingly if you will sort of have obtain 75% and higher. And coming back to the last question, Huba, that you brought up, you will not be disqualified because you are currently busy with your master's. You just need to attach your honors outcomes or results, and then you will be, as I've indicated to Sibo, you will then be awarded provisionally if you are eligible and you are found to be a part of the cohort that needs to be awarded, and then based on the final results of your masters, then it will be determined whether the award stands or you do not qualify, based because you need to attain or obtain 65% and higher to be eligible. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelson. I have a few people that indicated that they missed part of the session. We will have another webinar tomorrow And if you have missed part of it, or if you want to refer others, please feel free to let us know, and we will share the link for tomorrow. We also had a question, and that's about our last question. The exclusion of pre-proposal students in 2022, would this mean that first-year doctoral students would be excluded from applying? Nelson, can you respond to that?
No. If you are a first-year doctoral student, then you are qualifying. That if you are a first-year doctoral student in 2022, you are certainly qualifying. Pre-proposal at most would be those that, or sometimes would be those that have other funding from other sources, and they need to submit some stuff through to those sources as part of a pre-proposal. And those who are busy with that sort of exercise, we do not normally consider. You should be at your first level of doctoral, second level of doctoral, in order for you to be funded. Yeah.
Super. Thank you so much, Nelson. Michael, I have noted your comment. I completely understand where you are coming from. Nelson, the question is around the age restriction and the limitations that puts on accessing these funding opportunities, also seeing that it is for all NRF programs. Perhaps you can comment on that. What is the specific background of this? And Michael, we will again flag this issue also in our strategic meetings with other colleagues at the NRF.
Okay, a number of considerations have led the NRF to take this decision. Firstly, we are aligning our funding principle with the likes of your NSFAS, some program that are funded by higher education and training at the same or similar programs. But of essence is that the NRF over the years has realized that there has been a lot of time taken in terms of progression from one level of study to the next. And another aspect is that without the age limit, there was a higher number of PhD graduates who graduate at an advanced age, and that limits them to sort of contribute to research endeavors and become your established researchers. And that works against the mandate of the NRF, because the NRF really tries to contribute to and assist South Africa to realize its goal of attaining at least 1% of global research and development output. So that is why I'm saying it's a number of issues, but some of them are those that I have sort of alluded to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nelson. And that concludes our webinar for today. I have noted that you would like to share this opportunity with others. We will make sure to send the link for tomorrow's event, and to make sure that you receive a link to today's recording that will be on YouTube, as I've mentioned. And please do feel free. I've already seen on my phone a few messages pop up of participants asking for further assistance. Please feel free to reach out with us, and to make sure that you do take up this opportunity for completing a joint PhD program between South Africa and the Netherlands. Thank you very much for joining us, and Nelson, thank you for co-hosting with me today.
Thank you, Huba. Thank you, everyone. And I take it's a goodbye, Huba.